It's an 87th Precinct bonus episode. We have come off the back of discussing the 28th 87th Precinct book, Hail to the Chief, McBain's friendly little look at the world of Richard Milhouse Nixon as seen through the notion of gangs in Isola. And I'm sure you enjoyed that discussion in our main episode, and I'm sure you weren't absolutely horrified by our terrible, terrible knowledge of the events of American political history.
We're so sorry. We're so very sorry.
If you've got any complaints, then please send them to the White House. It seems fair enough, I think. We've got enough politics to deal with in our absolute day-to-day business without trying to keep track of everything that happened in the past as well. Although some would say perhaps keeping track of things in the past might have helped us avoid some of the things that are going on now.
As we know, the only thing you ever learn from history is that we never learn from history.
Definitely.
Yep.
So, what we'll do in our bonus episode, as we usually do, is I've got a little bit of a quiz element to this, and we'll have a look at some book covers, and we'll talk about fantasy casting of a specific character from the series. Thank you for your contributions for that, everyone. So before we get on to anything else, we're going to have a look at the original book covers of Hail to the Chief as they were published in America and the UK. So I'm revealing for my panel of experts.
Oh, that's the same as yours, Paul.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's the American one there. Mm-hmm. We have the Random House hardback cover, which is the back of someone wearing a denim jacket with the gang logo on it, but the name of the book written upon it.
Yeah, I quite like those two. That top one's awful, isn't it?
The Signet edition.
It's like a road safety book, like a Hail to the Chief of the RAC or something.
The AAA.
It's definitely a case of an artist being given the first page to read and then just basing the cover on that, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think.
I quite like it, but it is.
Yeah, the Signet editions were all done as painted covers, and it was much more harking back to a pulpy sort of style of of art direction than the other ones, which are a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I like the ones with the jackets.
Yeah, so the British hardback edition appears to have Joey Ramone brandishing a bottle on it.
Does look like a Ramones fan, definitely.
I thought he was thumbing a cab.
The first time I looked at it, I thought he was holding like a turkey drumstick.
With a big bite taken out of it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Or possibly a small cone of chips.
Perhaps he'd just opened the first KFC in Preston, and he he probably opened that around.
Well, they did open the first Pizza Hut in the UK in 1973. I don't know if that's of any interest to anyone.
Well, if
Islington, I believe.
Preston, Lancashire, UK's first KFC.
Absolutely brought over by Ray Allen, who was the UK ambassador for KFC, and then started his own chain of chicken shops, Allen's Fried Chicken. Very good. One day I'll get that sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
1965. It's in the same unit as well.
Right.
True story.
I know, I've been to that KFC. And then we have the British paperback edition, which is the Pan edition, which features a hand reaching up as though from the ground, pulling down a Confederate flag to reveal the name, Hail to the Chief.
Indeed.
And that is the edition I've got.
It is.
So mine's the 1975 first paperback edition, although I have got the second printing from 1976. And it is, to everyone's joy, a D. Llewellyn Hodge edition.
Good old D. Llewellyn Hodge.
I keep saying I'll share this, but I must actually share a picture of the D. Llewellyn Hodge ex Libris page.
It's pretty cool.
Mine's one of my best condition ones.
Describe your one, Steve.
Very, I don't know, I suspect I'm the only person to ever read this, even though it is the 1979 third printing of the 1975 edition by Pan. There's like a bit of a graffitied... because there's a bit in the book about graffitied buildings and their little tags, and this is
as they get into the Puerto Rican section.
This is recreating some of those.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, quite colourful, isn't it?
It is quite colourful, yeah.
It's got the nice gold stripe McBain logo that I like.
Yeah, it has the Hail to the Chief text underneath.
And Morgan has got, again, a Pan edition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, again, but another different cover. Annoyingly, mine doesn't tell me which printing it is. It just says this edition published 1975, but this is clearly not the 1975 one. So it's sometime in the 80s. It's got the barcode and...
Looks like you've done it. You've made it yourself.
Yeah. A lot of clip art there.
Little craft project.
Yeah, I've never seen another of that ilk.
It's a Colin Thomas photograph on the front. Yeah, so 2 switchblades, 6 bullets, and a couple of streaks of paint.
Yeah, it sort of made into some kind of tribal sort of totem kind of thing, I guess is what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
It's a bit peculiar, and the McBain logo in a kind of typewriter type font.
Yeah, so it's been a while since we've ordered a different edition of the Pan paperbacks. I'll put pictures of those up on the Instagram for you all to look at.
I don't know what's going to happen with them huffing wise.
Oh yeah, do you want to do an assessment?
Mine's odorless, pretty much.
Well, yours is in good nick though, isn't it?
Ooh, that smells really interesting. That you huffed yours.
Oh, is it, even I can detect a little bit
Morgan
of that.
wins that yours is fairly...
Who'd have thought the newest edition?
It's probably poisonous.
No, possibly, yeah. Whatever.
The aroma of 1983.
Marie, who formerly owned it, has done to it. It's made it very fragrant.
Well, she's not written as elaborately in the front as D. Llewellyn Hodge has in mine.
Certainly
anyway.
hasn't.
Nobody's written in this. There isn't even a price in it.
No, mine cost £1.
As did mine.
So, I don't know how much mine cost. I would have got it on the internet at the time. I think I was eBaying most of these.
Yeah.
Because you just couldn't quite source them quick enough.
No. You'd sometimes come across like a seam of them in a bookshop. And you'd go through another 6-7 bookshops and not see a single one.
Yeah, I think because I read them in order, I was stockpiling the later ones, but you'd reach a breaking point where you were like, oh, I'm going to have to get them in from the... Interwet.
Yeah.
Interwet. That's what we used to have, wasn't it?
Interwet.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible, that. Terrible damp computer. Right.
I'm going to have to go into wet in a minute
No.
if it's raining.
That's going swimming. That's what you say in Yorkshire, isn't it?
Get into wet, lad.
Oh dear. I think it's time to move on from this daft lad nonsense.
You could be right.
So, quizzes. So there was 2 books in 1973, and when that happens, our second quiz is usually around Christmas things. So even though the book came out in September, October, we like to focus in at the end of the year. But what we could do as a broader thing, we didn't do this last time out, is the best-selling albums of 1973. Because we didn't do that.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes, it was Dark Side of the Moon.
I reckon that's the first time you've had an album like that as the bestseller.
It wasn't the best-selling album of 73.
Well,
though.
a bestseller.
Yeah.
Because they're always stuff you've never heard of, or Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
Guess what? Simon and Garfunkel's in there as well.
Well,
Marvellous.
Greatest hits.
Greatest hits, of course.
Everyone had that.
Yep.
did the Eagles release their best of around then?
Maybe a little bit later, but
maybe
yeah.
Maybe it
But
was
more
a little
like
bit
sort
later.
of 75-ish, yeah. Any Zeppelin?
Not in the top 10 most popular albums or best-selling albums.
See, that seems...
Did they have a record in 73? I lose track of what years those came out.
Yeah, Zeppelin 3, Zeppelin
I was
3
wondering...
was 77? Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I just don't think they would have sold on the scale of these top 10 albums. I think they sold a lot and they kept selling, but I don't think they sold on the scale of these things.
Sometimes you're a bit skewed by what's happened in...
By legacy over...
absolutely,
over
it's true.
the reality.
Wings. Was there a Wings album?
There wasn't a Wings album, certainly not in the top 10 selling albums.
Sad times.
There were 2 Beatles albums, though. 1973.
Oh, the red one and the blue one.
Yeah, the red and the blue album, which I, to this day, refuse to acknowledge. So many people had the red and the blue Beatles compilations as their touchstone for what the Beatles was about, and I never did. I just got the Beatles albums eventually.
I just got Rock and Roll Music Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, so did I. I had those before I got my full set of Beatles things, but yeah.
I only belatedly got a copy of the blue one, and then my cat jumped on the record player while it was playing, so it's got a big scratch over one of the discs, which is great.
Oh.
Do you remember what was playing at the time?
I can't. I really can't. It was something off the White Album, but I can't remember what.
Well, there you go. But anyway, both of those were in the bestseller things.
Perhaps it was Revolution and the cat
Revolted.
I'll show you a Revolution.
Yeah. There are some big names in the top 10. I mean, you've got at least 4 of them so far. 2 Beatles, Pink Floyd and Simon and Garfunkel. 2 big British names in there.
Solo acts or groups?
The Who?
Solo acts.
Solo acts.
Solo. Elton John.
Elton John?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player.
Right, okay.
Was that before or after?
Before, possibly. I don't know.
That was the biggest selling album of 73.
Wow.
Who else was 73? Bowie?
Bowie.
Oh, of course, yeah. Are we Ziggy or are we Aladdin Sane?
Aladdin Sane. Okay. I know you're never going to get the other one because the 5th best-selling album of 1973 was We Can Make It by Peters and Lee.
Oh, great.
And I don't think you'd have got that one.
No.
The 8th was And I Love You So by Perry Como.
Marvellous.
Then there was Back to Front by Gilbert O'Sullivan. And the original soundtrack to the film That'll Be the Day.
Wow.
Soundtracks sold massively. They always did.
It was David Essex, that wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Ringo was in that?
He was. Ringo was in that as well.
Okay.
I mean, I could do you a top 10 Christmas number ones for the UK or the US, but it's so weird. I think it's just more interesting just to comment on this. So, like, the US top 10 over Christmas of 1973, there's not a single Christmas song in there.
No.
It was just coming up to the sort of golden age of British Christmas songs, wasn't it?
Well, basically, yeah. So in America, you've got things like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, the song is in the charts, in the top 10. Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce.
Ooh.
I think that's how you say his surname. I love that song.
Croce, I'm not sure.
I love that song.
It's a very melancholic top 10, isn't it? Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and that.
Yeah.
Oof.
There's a brilliant...
Jim Croce. He
invented the funny little needles you use to make little mat things. No.
Wow.
He died young as well.
Very sad.
Yeah. Very good country artist. You'd love Jim
in his
Croce.
crochet machine.
Good.
Yeah. The Muppets do an exceptional version of Time in a Bottle, which is where I first heard it. It's heartbreaking. Leave Me Alone, Ruby Red Dress by Helen Reddy. Hello, It's Me, Todd Rundgren.
Ooh, smashing.
The Joker by Steve Miller Band.
Oh, yeah.
Top of the World by the Carpenters. Then there's Chicago staple singers, Barry White. And number 1 in America was The Most Beautiful Girl by Charlie Rich.
Oh, Charlie Rich, yeah.
I have no idea who Charlie Rich is.
Oh, he wore a hat and had
Lots
white
of people
hair.
wear hats.
Is that, hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl? Is that that one?
I've no idea.
Yeah. Charlie,
I hope so.
my parents had some Charlie Rich albums.
Yeah, cracking.
I think he was just a bit of a poor man's Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, like in the sort of pop country kind of
vein.
The rich baritone.
Well, let's contrast that chart with the UK chart, which has definitely got Christmas in it.
Slade?
It does. Number 1, Merry Christmas, Everybody by Slade.
Yeah, he is Charlie Rich.
Oh, hang on, sorry.
There you go. That's
Rich.
what I remember him looking like.
Yeah.
Well, he's definitely wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks
I'm
like
sure everyone knows who he is, but I've
Highwayman.
There's one other big Christmas hit in the chart.
Wizard.
Yeah, I wish it could be Christmas every day.
Yeah, we're still a year before Shawaddy Waddy's Hey Mr. Christmas.
Blimey. But then the rest of this chart is quite interesting. There's 2 glam anthems in there, one of which we probably don't want to talk about. Gary Glitter with I Love You, Love Me, Love.
Oh, yeah, it's power ballad.
Yeah.
Delightful.
And then My Cuckoo by Alvin Stardust.
Oh, hey, there's something cat, come and sit on my mat, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Great lyrics.
There's a song by the New Seekers, a song by Marie Osmond, The Show Must Go On by Leo Sayer, Lamplight by David Essex, which I assume is from That'll Be the Day.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Roll Away the Stone by Mott the Who.
Roll away the sha-la-la-la, push, push. I was doing the actions if anyone was wondering.
If only this was a video podcast, you'd have seen some beautiful
I'm so glad
it's just glam after glam, isn't it?
Rockabilly party on Saturday night.
And number 10 in the charts in the UK over Christmas was by Roxy Music.
Oh, right.
What could it be, Steve-O?
The Strand?
To the Strand.
Or Street Life?
Street Life.
Street Life.
What does that go like?
Yeah.
Street life.
Oh, I like
That's
that.
pretty much it.
You sample Steve.
What a life. It's really good, actually. One of my faves, that.
Is that from like the first
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
record without Brian Eno? Is that
Yeah,
right?
but it's still a little bit...
Stranded.
Yeah.
There we go. Steve got very excited by
It's
Roxy
got
music there.
quite heavy guitars by old
good record
Phil
still,
Manzarana. These
Excellent.
fly spectacles, which we mentioned last time. Actually, again. Topical they are at the moment. Early 70s.
It's quite different, isn't it? The American chart, totally untroubled by Christmas songs,
Yeah.
and the UK one starting to become what it's been ever since, basically, which is
The American market culturally bereft from lack of Slade.
Yeah, definitely.
No Slade, but plenty of Charlie Rich.
Yeah, it was the 1973 sequin trade ban that that Nixon had put into place that caused it to not happen.
His greatest crime.
Yeah. So let's have a look at something to do with films then, because the last time I said the first half of the year, 1973, there's basically no big well-known films came out at all, really. So I've had a look at the top 10 grossing films in the States and Canada. Any thoughts?
Was The Exorcist 1973?
Yes, it was.
Ooh,
that was the second highest grossing film that year.
Live and Let Die.
Yep, that was in there. 8th highest grossing film of the year.
Was Godfather 2? Or was that 74?
Don't know.
Not on your list.
Not on my list. Not
I
fussed.
think that might be next year's.
I'm putting it on record that I'm not fussed on the Godfather films. Let it be known.
Have you ever seen them, though?
I've seen the first one.
Well, the second one's...
I think the first
He's not going to convince me.
Anyway,
There we go.
give us a clue.
Okay. Well, there's a Disney film. An animated Disney
Animated Disney films.
film. So don't go thinking it was $1 Million Duck from 1971.
What about Jungle Book? Was that around then?
No, but it utilised leftover painting cells.
Robin Hood.
Yes, Robin Hood. That damn sexy fox.
I used to really love the Robin Hood film.
I quite like the Robin Hood film as well. But the thing with I watched the Disney Robin Hood film is the animation looks very much like the animation in Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And I prefer Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which obviously is not animated all the way through. Well, I'll run down. The Sting was the highest grossing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Phenomenal film. Then The Exorcist. American Graffiti,
Of course, yeah.
which
Love
I've
that.
never managed to watch all the way through.
It's terrific.
But I love the soundtrack album. Papillon.
I've still never seen the film with that.
No, I think that's probably very, very good.
Yeah, it is good, actually. Yeah.
I enjoyed the book tremendously.
Then The Way We Were, which is...
Oh, yeah.
Memories.
Magnum Force.
Oh,
right,
that's
yeah.
The Dirty Harry one. I wouldn't have thought that would have been one of the top grossing ones,
No,
but
but
I do like the Dirty Harry films.
that is on television all the time at the moment, Magnum Force. Once a week, I reckon.
Once a week.
Yeah, that is
Regular as clockwork.
That is no exaggeration. It's on ITV4.
After the first film, I kind of get all the other ones blend into one.
The one with the
Yeah.
corrupt cops that are going out, taking the law into their
Oh,
own
the
hands.
motorbike cops.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's got that's got the brilliant end sequence on like the boat in the dock, isn't it?
No, they're in like a factory, aren't they?
Isn't it? I'm pretty sure it ends on a boat.
See what I mean?
No, they're in a factory, and he's like hiding. Like, it goes up and down like conveyor belts, stuff like that.
The conveyor belt's the end of the first one.
No.
Like the mining facility by the lake with a bus. Look, we can't get into this Dirty Harry, the details. Safe to say, I think we've proven Morgan's point that actually after the first one, it all becomes a bit of a mishmash in your mind. Certainly, Guns N' Roses don't appear in Magnum Force.
That's true.
Film after that, Last Tango in Paris. We won't go into details about that. Live and Let Die, Robin Hood, and then Paper Moon. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
One Hammer horror film released in 1973, which we didn't talk about last time because it wasn't in the first part of the year.
That might have been...
Not Scar. What's...
No, Scar. It's not Scars of Dracula. No, I don't think it's Dracula. Or is it Dracula? Oh, that
what's
must be...
the one after AD 72 then?
Satanic Rites.
Satanic Rites.
There we go.
That's the one where
Is the one he dies in a bush?
Yeah, he does. He gets pushed in a bush in London.
Yeah, it's like after all the different ways that people have failed to kill him, he falls in a prickly bush.
Yeah, he's running like a corporation in London.
That's right.
Yeah.
He got a crew of motorcycle riding denizens, hasn't he, I think?
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
Shite.
The list of classic Hammer horror films after that one is quite short. The company was not long with the hits anyway. As a carry-on film.
Oh.
Again, we didn't talk about this last time as well to save it for the... I'm sure
these must be running dry soon, wasn't they, as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Magnum Force is on a ship, but I never realised that was a ship.
Thank you.
But it's like a factory.
It's a big ship, I'll grant you that.
Oh, right.
It's not a luxury yacht, it is a working vessel.
Carry on. Carry on to the bottom of the barrel.
I don't know.
Carry on,
Admiral.
past caring.
Yeah.
Carry on long after you've run out of ideas.
Carry on flogging this thing on the podcast.
Carry on flogging the
everyone
dead
stops
horse.
listening. It's actually Carry On Girls, which I don't think I've ever seen, and it doesn't star Kenneth Williams or Charles Hawtrey.
Isn't like Carry On Emmanuel quite soon? Didn't they release that?
They did.
God.
Yeah.
But there's for fans of horror, the film The Wicker Man and Don't Look Now were released as a double feature in the cinemas.
Bloody hell, imagine watching those two films for the first time
back to back.
Back to back, you'd come out and be like, oh my lord.
Your mind's blown all over the place.
Yeah, I knew The Wicker Man was 1973.
That's great.
Yeah. I bet there's very few films that compare the quality of the original with the remake. I know remakes are often totally useless, but The Wicker Man, the gulf between those films is astronomical.
Yeah,
it's like I'm unbelievable.
I'm not a naysayer of the original Wicker Man, but it doesn't capture me as much as it's captured many people's imagination.
Oh, I think it's great.
It does have that indefinable something, the folk horror notion of the time portrayed in that sort of film with that sort of production that makes it unique.
Yeah,
and the idea that you could remake it and hope to capture any of that aspect, it just seems, you just look at it and go, no, that we would never get. But then money in it, and Nicolas Cage who's a force to be reckoned with.
Yes,
in any circumstance.
Definitely one way of describing him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it all his decent films have one-word titles, or do they have? There's some like rule that you can work out whether it's a decent Nicolas Cage film or not, because it's got a certain number of words or letters in its title. And I seem to remember somebody running through it, and it seemed to ring true, but I can't remember what it was.
He's bonkers. Anyway, let's get away from Nicolas Cage, because we think Carry On films will drag us down. If you start talking about Nicolas Cage, goodness knows where we'll end up. We asked everyone to turn their minds towards the fantasy casting for the leading female character in the 87th Precinct, which is Teddy Carella.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
And we got some very good responses.
Oh, good.
But I would like to run down who's played her on screen already, just so you know anyway. And this is not a complete list, because in some of the foreign adaptations of things, some French and some Japanese things, I can't find... Obviously, the character names change quite a lot, and you can't necessarily find information about who's what parallel. I've done my best for most of it. So I will hold this up so the gentleman can see it, and I will try and share these as well, in some of them anyway. So we start with, at the top, with Anne Francis. She didn't technically play Teddy Carella. She played Teddy Baxter in a one-off episode of a serial called Climax. Not a serial, sorry, it's like an anthology series.
I get you, yeah.
Climax, called The Deadly Tattoo, based on The Con Man. So
I think I only know of Anne Francis from Forbidden Planet, I think she's in.
That seems probably the most obvious one. But yeah, so she was technically the first Teddy Carella character on screen. Then we have the film of Cop Hater, in which Ellen Parker plays her in 1958, with a nice little sort of pixie haircut there.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jenna Rowlands in the TV series of the 87th Precinct, who she only appears in about 6 episodes or something.
True, yeah.
Because they clearly didn't have time to write the character well because of the length of the shows, when you had to get a cop story out as well, and B, the inclination because women in TV not very well written, particularly at the time.
Indeed.
We move on to 1972 and the film Fuzz, in which the brief appearance of Teddy Carella is played by Neil Adams. In quite a nice little sequence in that film where she's at the hospital bed with Burt Reynolds after he's been set on fire. But really, that she's entirely incidental. She could have been written out of that script and it wouldn't have changed that story at all or changed the characterisation, which is a real shame. In the French-Canadian film of Blood Relatives, Micheline Langtot, 1978, plays Mrs. Karela. And again, she's just in the background. This is Donald Sutherland plays Karela in that one. She's just in the house while he's reading a diary. Mrs. Karela.
Donald Pleasance plays...
Well, Donald Pleasance is in that film as
Seriously?
well. Yeah. Wow. Not playing Maya
Both
Maya,
the
sadly.
Donalds.
Yeah. It's a double Donald scenario.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of both Donalds, actually.
Yeah, well, I'll lend you, or you'll get you to watch Blood Relatives in a couple of books' time, and you can suffer like I've suffered.
Double Donald.
We have here Ryoko Sakaguchi from 1980, who played the Teddy Carella character, known as Fumiko Teranishi, in the 87th Precinct Naked City series in Japan. There she is.
Cool.
We also have Narimi Arimori, who played Satoshi Morita, the character, in the Japanese series 87th Precinct My Town.
Wow.
In the 90s, when Ken Watanabe was the Karela character.
Excellent.
We also have, from the later adaptations, we have Deanna Bray playing Teddy Franklin in the adaptation of Lightning. And she actually is a deaf actor, which is appropriate.
Yes.
And then we also have Andrea Farrell playing Teddy in Heatwave and Ice as well. So, you know, it's a mixed bag of actors who are all great in their own way, but not necessarily all Teddy Carella off the page, as it were.
Definitely, yeah. There's no sort of like particularly obvious defining characteristic immediately apparent from just looking at...
So what are Teddy Carella's defining characteristics then, as they come off the page? She's deaf.
Yeah.
She's mute.
She's got dark hair.
She's got very dark,
has.
raven black hair.
Raven black.
She's very beautiful.
Very beautiful.
She is.
Brown eyes.
Yeah.
But then we have got an unreliable witness here. Somebody who's in love with her. So
Yeah. So Carella
we never know. Well, I'm only joking.
But she is an archetype character. She is the beautiful woman to end all beautiful women in the mind of the lead character and presumably therefore the author as well, really. So some of the suggestions from our friends online. We have some big names here.
Big names.
Demi Moore.
Oh, wrong. Yeah.
So that's from our friend Criminoli.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I can see that to some extent.
Yeah.
And, you know, a big screen adaptation, I think... I don't know whether she'd slum it on TV necessarily, but you could have seen her in a big screen adaptation.
Our TV adaptation isn't slumming it. It's,
Have you seen who's on Netflix these days? Yeah.
That's true, yes. It's the new cinema. And it was a good suggestion here from our friend Matthew Sullivan, which was Mary Tyler Moore. If you would have been making it at a time when Mary Tyler Moore was, and she was going to see someone sort of grow with the character particularly...
Yeah, okay,
she probably could have done very well.
Yeah.
Although an interesting point that he does mention is her production company, MTM, because I think she sort of had almost like a Lucy What's-Her-Face type career where she had a production company.
Yeah.
It was Desilu with I Love Lucy person whose surname totally escapes me now.
Me too.
Thanks, Morgan.
Sorry.
Thanks for having me back there. But MTM Productions, Mary Tyler Moore Productions, produced Hill Street Blues. So you can imagine that McBain would have vetoed any casting.
Absolutely, yeah.
A very, very good suggestion, and one I'm quite keen on, is the actor Marley Matlin, This was suggested by Kevin Mahoney. She is a deaf actor, and she got an Oscar for the film of Children of a Lesser God. So in 1987, and she's got a good look, quite an intense look there, really.
Yeah, cool.
I think she's a very good call. And I think Once Upon a Time, she definitely could have been.
Absolutely.
But this is fantasy casting. It can be Once Upon a Time. Anne Hathaway, another suggestion from Kevin. I mean, she's all right. She's all right, isn't she? No, I have no problem with Anne Hathaway. She's just not Teddy Carella.
Doesn't sound like it. What?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway's Cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my immediate thought. But actually, I think she's actually got like quite a range. So I reckon.
No, she has definitely.
I reckon she could definitely turn her hand to it, but wouldn't be me.
But
immediate
would you
choice.
put her up against a suggestion from Stella, which was Natalie Portman?
Ooh.
I mean, Natalie Portman's done all sorts of stuff. And there's lots of photos of her looking quite brooding and intense with flat hair. That sounds really bitchy. I didn't mean that. I meant hair sort of flattened down. No. She's great, but again, not quite as good a suggestion as the one from our friend James Goodwin of Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good suggestion.
See, I think she's just got something different about her.
Yeah, I feel like she's got a bit more of the kind of, a bit more of the personality that you'd want somehow. I don't know if Natalie Portman would have that.
Well, they are actors. So
they are actors.
Like I say,
I suppose we can count them to act to some extent, but
A suggestion from Hank Wellman of Laura San Giacomo from Sex, Lies and Videotape. I think it's probably the most famous thing she's been in.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And my choice, if we were making it now, and I did this, I mean, there's a certain amount of cynicism to this research because I did research deaf actors, because I think if you were making it now, you would be a horrible person not to actually aim to get a deaf actor in to play a deaf role.
I was going to say that would be the first thing you'd try and do, isn't it?
The verisimilitude that comes with somewhat, casting someone in a role that they can bring that truth to, not just the knowledge of, say, sign language or whatever, but the true lived experience of that sort of thing. And there's plenty of actors capable of doing that as well. Right. But the one who cropped up in my little sort of bit of research was a lady called Stephanie Nogueras, who's Puerto Rican, hence that surname. Mm-hmm. I think she comes from New York. And I think she's about 29, 30 years old now. But she's a fairly intense-looking character there. She is, in that photo anyway.
Yeah.
So she's my choice. If you were making it now, who you'd go for.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
What about you fellas? Any thoughts?
Well, I'd kind of forgotten that we were supposed to be doing it.
I did just kind of forget.
I did always have one person, and I was just trying to find a particular photo of the correct era. Do you remember Sean Young?
Sean Young?
Do you remember her? She was in Dune.
All right.
What else was she in? Blade Runner, wasn't she?
Okay.
Do you remember her? I don't think she's been in anything for ages.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah.
No, I think you.
She's quite tall as well, I seem to remember. But
it's all right, you could put her in a trench.
So yeah, that was one of my suggestions.
Tall actors go in a trench.
But I do prefer some of those suggestions, actually.
Yeah, I do think casting an actual deaf actor would be a really good move. Although I'm sure that certain cynics would say that if it was this project was actually happening in Hollywood, they'd just cast Scarlett Johansson instead.
Yeah.
Which I think is often the case when they should clearly cast someone else.
Yeah, well, it's not really the forum to go into the sort of nature of Hollywood casting and its complete weirdness with casting white actors in roles that are different ethnic backgrounds. It just baffles me that in this day and age that would even be a consideration.
So how are we going to resolve this then?
Fight. Lucille Ball. That's her name, Lucille Ball. That's what I was thinking of.
I don't know why I couldn't.
I'm not putting her forward for Teddy Carella.
That'd be an interesting choice.
It might be a zanier take on the character.
I think of all those suggestions there, I think my first choice, well, my two favourite would be those two.
That's Marlee Matlin and Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, I don't know whether
any
common ground.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Connelly seems like a really good call, but I'd like to go with your choice, Paul. I reckon that's going to be good.
You reckon Stephanie?
Yeah.
Stephanie Nogueras?
Yeah.
Well,
I think also we're already going to have quite a lot of like big industry heavy hitters in this. I think actually giving this high profile role to a deaf actor is going to be a really good thing for this show. I think it's the right way to go.
Well, your call, Paul.
Well, obviously I put forward my choice of Stephanie Nogueras, so I think she's going to win out.
Is she?
Yeah,
okay.
She's definitely going to win out, and that's who we're going to cast as our Teddy Carella.
There we go, another person.
Yeah. So the real issue is, who are we going to cast next? And do you know what? We've steered away from the squad room for some time, haven't we? Dealing with the deaf man and Teddy Carella. I think we need to cast a detective next time.
Ooh.
But who?
Should we do Mayor and just...
Shall we just
try and get one of the main...
Seize that.
I think you need to get at least one of your leading men sorted fairly soon. So it starts to...
I think so.
Amazing. That could be good.
Well, there's certainly been a few representations of him on screen already.
Is anyone going to be better than Norman Fell?
Well, that's very true.
Yeah, you see, yeah.
Norman Fell, who I should just mention, well, I shouldn't really, but it just occurred to me. He crops up briefly as a reference in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, really?
I was pleased to note.
Oh, well,
he popped up on screen and I felt like jumping out of my seat and going,
that's Norman Fell! He played Maya.
It's funny.
I didn't, thankfully.
I saw him in a film recently as well, and I can't remember what it was. What a fascinating story that was.
That was brilliant. Yeah. Great story.
If I remember for next time, because we might end up talking about him.
Yes,
I'll let you all know.
Do your level best. Excellent stuff. Well, we're getting somewhere now, you know. I really feel we should be commissioning scripts and thinking about where we're going to shoot this thing.
Definitely. Liverpool for Isola, that works, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably quite affordable, I'd have thought, for shooting a thing. They do shoot a lot of things in Liverpool and use it as a substitute for other places.
They do.
Well, Marvel does anyway. They use the docks quite a lot, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we could set this all on some Victorian docks, that would be helpful.
I think they've used some of the streets in town for like modern day, like
they
America, because as long as you don't show any of the tops of the buildings, you don't really
No, it gets used quite a lot, Liverpool, for different filming things, and it has done for quite a long time, because witness Granada's Sherlock Holmes. If they had to go out on the streets, they very rarely went much further down the M62 than Liverpool, you know, to shoot their outdoors scenes when they were out of the studio from Manchester. Anyway, that's by the by, really.
It is indeed.
We'll be back soon with our episode on the next book in the series, which is Bread, and you need to be thinking about who you're going to cast as everyone's favourite squad room comedian / cynic / man who has to go and deliver lectures on how to deal with sexual assault in books, Detective Maya. And until then, we're going to sign off like this. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Fairly well.